Okay,
We're on the record.
good to go, Courtney?
Think so.
Well, the internet's not working, but I'll stay, I'll stay. Okay,
There's a little bit of an echo.
I agree, Lola, it's coming back.
It's not.
Yeah, there's a little bit of an echo somewhere.
Let me see. Speakers. Let's move this, turn it away.
I don't think, is this the speaker?
That's.
I will assume this.
Oh. Yeah, yes, yes. Hello? I don't know. This is, apologies.
Could it be somebody on my?
Are both rooms open? No. This. Both. These are. In the same. Yeah. Well, Erica wasn't the problem.
Okay. Good morning. This is the July 13th, 2023 meeting of the Southern Region Board of Review. The hearing is being held via WebEx video conference at the Perry B. Duryea Junior State Office Building, 250 Veterans Memorial Highway, rooms 2 and 3, Hauppauge, New York, 11788. The time is now 9:10 and this hearing is officially open. The members of the board are Erica Schaub, Andrew Hames, Palin Nee, and myself, Robert Peterson, Chairman. From the Department of State is Mr. Courtney Nation. We will now hear the scheduled petitions. When you speak, please address the board and give your name, title, and legal address so that our court reporter can have all the information requested. We may, excuse me, we may have to stop from time to time to consult with our technical staff. In making comments to the board, please provide a descriptive narrative on matters referring to your exhibits to enable the court reporter to enter these into the records. The first hearing is in the matter of petition number 2023-0115. The petitioner is Howard Bruce Weitzman. This petition pertains to the enclosure of an existing in-ground swimming pool that is accessory to a detached one-family dwelling. The dwelling is approximately 2,900 square feet in total gross floor area, located at 516 Bay 5th Street, West Islip, Town of Islip, County of Suffolk, New York State. The petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section R326.4.2, which requires that swimming pools shall be completely enclosed by a permanent barrier complying with sections R326.4.2.1 through R326.4.2.6. The petitioner requests having the bulkhead of a navigable waterway substitute for a portion of the swimming pool barrier as required by sections R326.4.2.1 through R326.4.2.6. Okay, Mr. Weitzman. Nice to meet you. Yes, you're up.
Okay, Howard Bruce Weitzman, homeowner at 516 Bay 5th Street, West Islip, New York. So in 1999, I had put in for a variance for my in-ground pool in my residence, and had a meeting with the zoning board of appeals of the town of Islip, and they granted my my variance. Gave you a permit. All that documentation is in the pamphlet that I gave you. Surveys, permits, the town seal. They did a final inspection of the fencing with the locking mechanism, self-closing fencing, and all the requirements based on the code, and gave me my certificate of occupancy and approval. Now, that was over 23 years ago, and nothing has changed. and no construction has been done, and everything's been properly maintained. And now I get I get this issue now where they say I'm in violation. So this is why I'm here, because if they approved me then, why is it not approved now? So I'm showing all the pictures of the location so you guys can see what it is. It's hard to visualize. So I have all the annotated pictures here. And in the document, of course, I have the permit, and it specifically states that it is approved and fences to code. So if we look, let's see if I'm on what page that is. Give me a moment. So if we look on the survey, the drawings, it says, the stamp says fence location approved, gates to be self-closing, self-latching, with a stamp and a seal and an autograph. So I should be in compliance. I am in compliance. If not for nothing else, if something has changed because of some serious concern, I understand that codes are updated periodically if there are certain concerns. And in this case, I'm not aware of those concerns. I don't know of anything that's been changed. So on the basis of that alone, it should be grandfathered in if there was a change. Secondly, I want to be safe and do the correct thing as well. So that's why you can see in my pictures, I have a 3-year-old grandson that comes over on weekends. And we put up certain gates and other additional latching and locking mechanisms. This way he doesn't wander out of the house and, get into the canal or the pools. So it's really to keep him in the house, not from people coming in, is why we put those gates on, okay? I also have a copy of a petition that was sent to the State Department over 20 years ago from a neighbor with the same issue. And they got, the determination was also granted that the canal is a navigable waterway, is suitable as a barrier. Because anyone that would approach the area would have to be able to get into this canal and swim or by a boat in the first place. And that the mean high water is above 3 feet, and the pool is set back, I think about 35, maybe 40 feet from the bulkhead line. And that's basically the whole, all the issues here. And I had so because of the concern, I had a private professional engineer come in and just give him all the documents, say, here, you tell me what, if I'm in compliance, and he concurs with that. Now, when I spoke to the town code enforcement, they couldn't even tell me where this fence had to go. I had a phone conversation with the supervisor, with the inspector, Aldo Hernandez, with the Jason Mistretta, his supervisor, and Jason Prudenti is the head of the whole department, and none of them could tell me where this fence needs to go. I brought over a contractor, a fencing contractor. I said, where would you put a fence? He says, you can't put a fence here. You're in violation of your setback rule. Put a fence anywhere else along there's nowhere to put a fence. He says, to put a fence down by the canal is ridiculous. How are you going to dock your boat and get on and off the boat? So, I did all my due diligence to see, okay, how can I accommodate this requirement? So here we are.
Okay, what precipitated the violations?
So, my son's going through a divorce. So his ex, being very vindictive, wanted to take rights away for visitation. So she figured she'd call and harass the code department saying there's violations, and then we would lose, overnight, which we did because the judge, of course, in the city said, well, if there's a violation, he can be there during the day, but he can't have overnights until we get it resolved. All right. So I had to make arrangements to have him come during the day, and now he can't stay overnight. So it's vindictive, and I'm being harassed. And within a half an hour of the Zoom conference of the divorce hearing, the town is knocking at my door. And this happened on 5 occasions. So there's suspicion of collusion of a private, and you guys, you don't want to hear
When
that.
it's life safety, they take it seriously, so they probably
Yeah.
running out because
Well, I
it's,
understand they have to do their due diligence.
Yeah.
No, I get that, but because I felt I was being harassed, and the timeliness of it is why I hired Ms. Rivera here, who's a deputy inspector for T&M, to walk the inspector through my property and to survey and gather all this evidence to protect my rights and my interests, you know? That's why she's.
All right, so let's get granular a little bit with the
Yeah.
photos and stuff. Go ahead, Andy.
Let me point out a couple of things. Number one, first of all, let me ask a question. The the inspector that came, was that from the building department or code enforcement or that was from code enforcement?
Correct.
Not from the building department?
That's correct.
I'm surprised that, and when it was first approved, well, the approval you got was a zoning approval.
Right, I had to go in front of the building department, get a permit, right, and get their approval for the
Okay.
variance. And my neighbors had to be involved in that process of court.
All I can say is apparently they were in error. And this has happened before. It actually happened to me, where I got a summons for a pool enclosure, and that was incorrect because they were enforcing, in my case, they were enforcing a code that was more restrictive than the state code. The town building code is not the applicable code. The state building code is the applicable code. And the town has a duty to enforce that. If they don't, then that's a problem. But that is the code that has to be enforced. So if they gave you a permit, they may have been incorrect in doing that.
Well, you said nothing changed. I mean, the approval says self-closing, self-latching gates.
I have additional pictures of those gates.
Okay.
If you don't.
Yeah.
That's not
Well-
these child-proof accordion things that you have on the deck.
There is,
Okay.
I didn't include that in here because it's already, yeah. Here's a picture of one of the closing locking gates.
Okay, which side of the property is that?
That would be the east side.
Okay, East side.
Entrance to the back, yeah.
that's opposite the canal, right?
Correct, directly
Okay.
Yeah.
opposite the canal, that's correct.
And then you have the same fence down
Fence on
the south side?
Yeah, so also I have the deadbolt latching locks on the sliding door from the house to the deck, which leads to the backyard.
Is that alarmed?
That would need to be a
No,
law.
it's not physically alarmed.
It's, well, see, according to Islip code and state code, that has to be alarmed.
I have
Or
a,
self-closing, self-latching. That's the state code.
yeah, it's not as, well, it's self-latching and it's.
I just
deadbolt.
can't really.
No, that's
not
on the
a-
house. That's not on the.
That's
not on
part
the-
of the dwelling?
That's part of his dwelling. on
But
the
if,
sliding
but
doors.
if the
Yeah, one at a
house
time,
is,
please.
if the house is part of the enclosure around the fence, then that has to be self-closing and locking
A sliding glass door, it needs to be self-closing
or alarmed.
or
Yes.
alarm. Okay, well,
Yeah.
it doesn't have an alarm.
So that's another issue.
Okay,
Our concern is on, obviously on the west side.
okay,
And the fence enclosure has to prevent anybody from getting into the area where the pool is. And because the fences does not go down, even if we allowed or gave a variance for the bulkhead acting as an enclosure, you still have the walkway along the bulkhead
Can I interrupt you for a second?
that is open.
So he's got this little finger that returns as part of his property
Yes.
that goes to the west. And I just putting a visual on it. I don't know if that fence meets or complies with the code, but it goes over the walkway to the piling at that part.
correct. The pilings on each side of.
Yeah, you see that.
Are totally enclosed by the fence.
Okay, so there's a 90-degree turn, one at a time, one 90-degree turn, and then the fence returns to the piling. A code official would have to go out and determine if that, because the latching mechanism has to be 54 inches above the ground, the gate has to swing out away from the pool. There's all these requirements in the building code to designate that as a code compliant barrier. The spacing between the balusters, the 45 inches for the ladder effect on the horizontal, all that stuff, it's very specific.
Sure.
So someone has to look at that to determine that would meet the code. then that would be a barrier that would not be able to access your property from that side.
Well, yes and no.
May I add something to that?
Just as Mr. Hames finishes thought. Yeah.
Somebody could swing around that post if that post is
It's a
right at the
good point.
bulkhead.
And we've had some cases in the past where they extended beyond the bulkhead,
Yes.
18 to 30
As
inches.
a matter of fact, the case that you included in the packet
Has to return.
has a return on
That's
it.
correct.
And it required either you go out over the canal for a certain distance, I think it was 30 inches, or you have a return of 30 inches.
My adjacent neighbor has that return, in fact, put in on his side,
On,
on the north end.
on the north end, okay.
Yeah. So where that little finger was that you were looking at?
I didn't see
If you
that.
look at the picture, you'll see that my neighbor had put in on his end. that If you look at this picture here, with that piling, you will see that there's a little black gate, object that it's on his end that's about the 18 to 24 inches or something in that.
I'm sorry.
What page are
I don't,
we on?
Very hard to,
say again?
I'm not
What
seeing.
page are we on? I
Yeah.
can't see anything.
Yeah, the last page.
Hold on a second. We're on, yeah,
The very last page.
Well, actually,
doesn't have
she
that.
doesn't have the packet.
so Exhibit H-11.
Okay, all right. Thanks.
Like 1 and 1-3. Oh, yeah, 1-1, it's hard to see in 1-1. Look at H-13, and you'll see that there's to the left of the piling, there's about an 18 or so inch metal gate that was added
So
on.
that's recently installed because it's not
Yeah.
on the other photo. Okay.
Yes, because when the town, he just had his pool done this year. So when the town came, they asked him to put those returns.
So when they looked at the returns, did they deem that fence compliant with the
Yeah.
barrier?
That's correct.
That was over here.
Pardon?
Base tunnel requires 30.
It's over here.
I didn't measure it,
Really
but
see it on
it's at
flash.
least.
You're gonna have to talk one at a time, otherwise
I know,
Barry's
it's
gonna have
not-
a hard time.
I'm sorry. So the return, if you include the piling, is probably close to the 30 inch.
Close to 30
Yeah.
inches.
The gate itself is not, but if you add the piling onto that, it's probably close to 30.
Now, what,
They improved that, they improved it.
what about on the south side?
On my south side, that's my neighbor to the south, let's see.
By the way, the fact that your neighbors don't have enclosures does not relieve you from having it because you were cited. They should be cited too.
Well, that means, yeah, so if you look on H6,
Where's the I'm not seeing.
exhibit H6,
Okay.
you can see my adjacent neighbor with a little floating platform is there. There's no, I mean, there's a big bush there and a piling, but there's no gate return on that end. That means, sir, that there's probably over 100 homes in my community alone with pools that are not compliant.
That may be.
Yeah.
That
And the
could
ones
be.
that, so are they gonna come around and force all those other homes too? I wonder.
I'm an architect. I just did a job on Wagstad. It's right in West Islip.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, we did a fence on the landward side of the boardwalk, like the dock. So it was in about 6 feet, and then we have a pool barrier that runs there. So you go through the gate, you access your boat, come back, and you go through the barrier again, and you have the pool area. So it's separated, it's a clear barrier in the code.
Well, yeah.
And I think, honestly, I'm sorry to interrupt you, I think it's achievable. It's just spending money. But I think with your house, well, you have this kind of planter, small little low planter.
Yeah.
So you can put a fence right on top of that, put a gate at the ramp and get a good solid barrier between.
So you know that the ramp is for putting watercraft down
Yeah,
to
yeah,
the dump, so it has to be openable, it has to be able to open.
All I'm saying is I think there's a design solution there to get a good solid barrier. If you're looking to try and terminate at the bulkhead, then we could look at past cited cases for that and extensions beyond the bulkhead. And then the rest of the barrier needs to be examined for code compliance.
So they did come on to the property and Mr. Rivera escorted him. I'll just let her speak on what what he said when he came down. Maybe he's mistaken.
By the way, yes, he was mistaken.
Okay.
It was an error. He was wrong. He should not have said, certified that as being code compliant.
So,
He was absolutely wrong.
Do you want to, anything specific that was non-compliant? or-
Yeah,
Just a
well,
general
that's why
statement?
we're here.
Okay, I'm just,
We lost a visual for the in-person petitioner.
yes. Let me see.
Kick the plug in.
recurrence to the dwelling here,
No, plug's still in.
right? And then it goes, I think there's a fence that goes something like this.
I don't know what happened to the video.
Yeah,
To
with
the
that
bulkhead.
return over there, which is, that's acceptable to
Okay,
me.
so this would be an
Yeah.
extension, this would be an extension.
But he's got, if he makes an extension, a return here. Okay, so,
Do we want to do that in deliberation?
yeah, so Courtney figures out our technical.
Oh, my gosh.
Should log off, right?
Oh, I think you're reading.
Yes, it ages, it ages.
Yeah, there you go.
You should.
Oh, yeah.
As
I don't think
the,
it's gonna go out. Oh, no, that way too, yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
Okay,
you
move
can,
it.
Okay.
Same with-
Just switch these.
This one's
Okay.
already there.
Oh,
extended.
it's already there.
So we're back.
yes, yes, we've got video.
All right, so just a couple of questions. I made notes. You reside at the home?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else reside with you or there's no accessory apartment or anything like that?
No. That's my family.
Okay,
My son.
so everybody has familiarity with the property? Okay. Courtney, I have a code
I have-
question.
I have a question.
Sure, Erica, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay. The canal, it's not, I mean, there's no access, it's public access, so I can go up and down the canal if I am on a boat, right? Like,
Yes,
Yeah.
anybody can go up and down the canal. Okay.
Code question was, isn't in the property maintenance code, pool barriers are retroactive? It's probably the only part of the code that's my understanding.
Yes.
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 But it's not exactly like R 326, or does it
I think
refer
it
to
is.
326?
It says you have to conform to 326
Okay,
retroactive. I think effective sometime in the past, so.
so if Mr. Weissman got a CO and had it inspected 23 years ago, you said,
1999.
1999, and now we have this code in place today, somebody conducts an inspection, whether it issues a violation, he's required to upgrade that barrier to meet today's code?
The retroactivity goes back to a certain date. In other words, prior to that date, he doesn't have to do that. In other words, the way it's written in the property maintenance code, and I don't,
Okay,
have.
I like learning new things, yeah.
I will,
I didn't know this either.
I'll fetch the books because that used to be my book, but I had to.
Okay, sorry to put you on the spot, I just know there was
Yeah.
something with regards to retroactivity?
Oh, yes, the retroactivity in the property maintenance code goes back to a certain date,
Okay,
beyond which the code in effect at the time
okay.
picks up.
So his pool predates 2006, which was the submersible alarm requirement, correct? So he doesn't need to do that.
Oh, I have an alarm, if someone goes in, he goes into the pool.
Yeah, that is, I think that was retroactive. I don't,
There's a 2006, December 2006 trigger. If the pool existed before then, they don't need to have a
I'm
submersible alarm.
not sure about
I'll double check that.
that. I think it does.
Okay, I thought I vetted that out before. And then,
I do have a summer pool.
okay, so even though it's supplemental,
That I did because I'm trying to be, err on the side of caution.
well, that's good for the whole package, the whole presentation. And if you had a power safety cover, then you alleviate the need for alarms on the doors, stuff like that, but I see that it's a kidney-shaped pool and that would be tough, but.
It's tough getting it in there.
So the town of Islip would need to examine the whole barrier and you're using your dwelling as part of the barrier.
Right.
So any doors in that part of the dwelling would need to be examined for self-closing, self-latching, or code-compliant pool alarms. And just lock it.
Now,
And then the bulkhead,
let's go back to the south fence. The south fence still is open to the neighbor.
Correct. There's a step down, a cut down in to go into the canal. If you look at the picture, I don't know if that qualifies as a barrier. So if you look on either on the survey drawing, you can see it's sketched in there, but if you look on H6, you can see that there's a floating platform in front of that step down, which is directly adjacent to that south neighbor. That step down is about 2.5 feet. So yeah, it's about 2 feet. It's a floating platform in front of it, and then you have the piling and then some bushes.
But that walkway right at the bulkhead goes right past the fence and.
No, there's a gate. I mean, there's a fence behind that bush that separates my neighbor from myself.
Does that go down right to the water?
Yes, it does. And it's locked.
Doesn't.
Yeah. If you look on the survey drawing, you'll see the
Survey,
fence
lots
goes,
of drawing.
yeah. The fence goes all the way down to the end.
do you have a better photo?
Let's see. You might be able to see it better in that picture.
Is that an exhibit?
No, this is just a different document that I had, just brought in case we needed it. But exhibit H6 is the closest you can
Am I not
see
seeing
that.
numbers?
So there appears to be a solid fence that terminates at the top of the piling.
That's correct. It runs all the way down the whole south.
And how big is a piling? 12 inches in diameter?
Oh, yeah, at least that.
All right. So would you be amenable to another extension like on the other side?
Of course,
Yeah.
sure. So that's a simple matter to do.
Okay. Right over here. That's his.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, do you want to make that photo into the record?
It doesn't have an exhibit, so we can make it, you have a copy of that?
Take it right out of him.
Okay, we could take that in as exhibit H14.
Done?
Thank you.
Picture off will be. And you can see the fencing behind the bush.
This is solid.
The winter time, so there's not so much greenery on it.
And there's no, I'm sorry to interrupt you, there's no gate there, right?
It's locked.
Oh, it's a locked gate?
So's the gate on the north side. That's the padlock gate.
Can you just kind of direct me on where the doors are in the dwelling?
Sure, if you, so let's see, look, oh, if you look at this Google Earth map view,
Okay.
it could be
Which exhibit is that?
H4. So you can see that there's a row of skylight,
Yes,
and right below that, you can see the sliding glass door. That's the way to get out to the backyard.
okay. Is there any other doors in the back of the dwelling or on the
That's it.
south side of the dwelling?
Nope, that's the only way in and out of the dwelling from that.
So on the extreme, what is that? the east side, it looks like there's two doors.
Yeah,
That's a shed. Those are, one's a pool equipment shed and one's an outdoor shower enclosure.
Storage rooms only, okay.
Correct, just a utility.
So you have the one slider that communicates inside the dwelling
That's
out
correct.
to the deck.
That's correct.
So these child-proof gates that you put up are just supplemental barriers, just
That's
for your
correct. So
grandson?
that, right, because that leads on to the deck, and this way, if he should get out the back, he can't get out of the deck area. That was just a requirement from the judge. That's here.
Okay.
Safety.
Okay, but just looking at the photos, it doesn't appear to me that the railings around the deck and these supplemental gates comply with the pool code. So you would still need to have that door alarmed,
Oh, okay, the sliding glass.
the sliding
Yeah,
list.
that's not a problem.
Because if you did have a barrier around the deck compliant, you wouldn't need to do that because the barrier would protect communication through the house.
Well, there is a fence entirely around the entire deck, a code fence.
So, but these gates don't comply with code. They would need to be self-closing, self-latching.
Oh, I see what you're
Yeah.
saying. Okay,
And
so
then-
that,
Yeah.
yeah, those are put in, right, those are removable, but they're not self-closing, self-latching.
You can't have anything removable.
Okay.
And you could put those mesh things in that help,
Yeah,
but they don't really, right, Courtney, they don't really
Yeah.
comply, yeah.
okay, so I thought that counted. So
So my point is you would need to alarm that slider. Unless you
that's probably easier.
renovated your railings and gates.
It's probably easier to put the alarm on the door. It's not, you know,
Okay.
That's a simple fix.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. Anybody else have any other questions?
No.
Erica? You have any
I'm
other
good.
questions?
no,
Did I notice in one of the pictures, this is for a door, for the, is it the west side of the dwelling, in the shed portion, below the shed portion of the, the canal is on which side?
Canal's on the
It's
west.
on the west
On the
side.
west, on the east side then. Toward the east.
Oh, those are the utility sheds, I think you're referring to, those doors, sir? These two white doors, sir?
Yes. those
Yeah,
were-
that was the pool equipment and shower.
And there's no intercommunication between that and the residents and the rest.
No, those are only accessible from.
I think I kind of know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Windows aren't part of the, because in today's code, the windows with the 4-inch opening,
Yes.
that doesn't apply here.
I don't believe it would apply if this pool was put in prior to that retroactive cutoff date.
Okay,
But in the deliberation.
okay.
what is it? Hey guys, it's Erica. What is the hardship?
And what is it, in light of alternatives? Is that the,
Yeah,
you remember on the application what you checked off as your hardship? My internet is down. I'm sorry, I can't.
No, it's no problem. Well,
Here it is.
seeking, oh, you found it?
I have it. Would be unnecessary in light of alternatives,
Yeah.
which without a loss of level of safety achieve the intended objective of the code.
Yeah, that's.
Okay.
The battery died.
Courtney? Battery, wants to sleep.
That's what it's.
Don't you have it plugged in?
It's time for a new battery.
Is this a good time we can deliberate? Can we be heard? No?
I'm good.
Yeah, so we
All right.
can,
We're going to talk this out?
Oh, okay.
Pull you back in and we'll render a decision.
So you don't want me to listen? Okay.
yeah, no,
No,
All right, thank you.
thank you. Okay, we got a lot of reading. Erica, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Back on the record. Okay, with respect to petition number 2023-0115, the petitioner is seeking relief from, I'm sorry, aggrieved party Howard Bruce Weitzman The petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section R326.4.2. The board makes the following findings. Number one, an in-ground pool is located in the rear yard of the subject dwelling. Number two, according to the applicant's survey and pictures, there appears to be a code-compliant swimming pool barrier, parentheses fence, located to the south of the pool along the south property line. There also appears to be a code-compliant fence to the east of the pool between the south property line fence and the south wall of the dwelling. Number three, the south wall of the dwelling may be able to serve as a barrier to the north of the pool if compliant with R326.4.2.8 of the 2020 Residential Code of New York State. Number four, the west side of the pool does not have a code-compliant barrier. Number five, the west side of the pool fronts onto the Saugatuck Canal, and there is a wood walkway that intervenes between the pool and the canal that extends beyond the limits of the applicant's property. At the north end of the canal, the petitioner's fence extends to the bulkhead, and there's an additional approximately 18-inch fence extension beyond the bulkhead, which was recently installed by the neighboring property. Number six, there's a floating dock on the south side of the boardwalk where the bulkhead drops down for access. The board considers that a barrier is required to restrict access to the pool in this area. Number seven, the petitioner has provided an exhibit of a past code state variance determination allowing a bulkhead to substitute for part of a swimming pool barrier. Number eight, the petitioner has stated that the pool presently has a code-compliant swimming pool alarm installed. So with respect to 19 NYCRR Part 1220, Section R326.4.2, the board finds strict compliance with the provisions to the Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code would entail practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship and would be unnecessary in light of alternatives which ensure the achievement of the code's intended objective, or in light of the alternatives which without a loss in level of safety achieve the code's intended objective more efficiently, effectively, or economically. And the granting of this variance will not substantially adversely affect Uniform Code's provisions for health, safety, and security. Wherefore, it is determined that the application for a variance from the provisions of 19 NYCRR Part 1220, Section R326.4.2, be and is hereby proposed to be granted with the following conditions. Condition number one, that a code-compliant swimming pool barrier shall be located to the south of the pool along the south property line. Number two, that a code-compliant fence shall be located to the east of the pool between the south property line fence and the south wall of the dwelling. Number three, that the south wall of the dwelling shall serve as a barrier to the north of the pool and shall be compliant with Section R326.4.2.8 of the 2020 Residential Code of New York State. Number four, that the fence at the north end of the canal and the fence extending to the canal at the south side shall either extend out from the bulkhead over the canal by a minimum of 30 inches or shall have a return along the edge of the bulkhead of the same 30 inches. Number five, that the area where the bulkhead drops down for access to the floating dock shall be enclosed by a code-compliant swimming pool barrier with an approved self-closing, self-latching gate, which may swing either inward or outward. Number six, that a swimming pool alarm conforming with ASTM F2208 shall be installed, used, and maintained as per the 2020 Residential Code of New York State. And number seven, that all other provisions applicable to swimming pools in the Uniform Code shall be met. I need a motion to approve with these conditions.
So moved.
May I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Erica, aye remotely. Okay, motion is approved. Furthermore, it should be noted that the decision of this board is limited to the specific building and application before it as contained within the petition and should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plans or specifications presented in support of this application. Okay, so there you go.
I did that right. I can't write that fast. And I don't know shorthand.
So, yeah, the first few conditions were basically establishing that you have the fence barrier already established.
Correct.
And you're just going to make sure and confirm that it complies with the code.
Okay.
And then we had additional measures down by the drop bulkhead and the fence extensions.
For the fence extensions, we have on one side, correct?
Yeah, we're asking for 30 inches.
We're asking for 30 inches, not
So if I
the,
put my 18 and his 18, that's the 30
The
inches.
30 inches would be up to the code official on, you know,
Yeah.
whether that barrier is suitable.
Okay, and the step down, you said you need, it has to be every.
Where the
corner as well?
bulkhead drops in that area, we want to corral that area,
Oh, you want to corral the area?
yes, and close it with pool barrier,
Oh, okay,
yes.
that's it.
Either that or, we thought in discussion that, if you just put a simple pool fence between the house to the south fence, you'd be done.
Yeah, well, that's,
So you still have that option. Just want you to know that,
put it where?
to put a code compliant barrier from the house to the south fence.
Oh,
Show them on the-
Take the door out of the equation,
yeah,
sliding
yeah.
door out of the equation, have a nice fence with a gate, separates the walkway and the bulkhead from,
I'd have to be at least 4 foot off the edge of the pool, and that would put me right where that ramp is. That's the,
I think we were talking about,
Foot off the pool?
no,
has to be at least a minimum 4 feet, not from the edge of the wall.
That, I think, is in the town of Islip code. I don't think that's in the state code.
Oh, okay.
Once
It
again,
is in the town.
I've had the problem with the town of Islip being more restrictive than the state. That's illegal. They cannot do that
unless they get it approved by the code council.
unless they get approved, but yeah, which they haven't.
So you're saying from the house across that south side fence there would satisfy everything?
Remember,
You wouldn't need a variance. Sort of alluding to that
Yeah,
in the hearing about putting a fence up, but there was a design solution there.
yes, yeah, exactly.
So,
Trying to figure out how to even.
So you have a approval with conditions or put a fence up and
Okay. Can I have that in writing?
you'll get it.
yeah,
You'll
Okay,
Get it what?
this one I can
Month or
just
so.
read through, yeah. Oh, month?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it'd take a while.
Was it coming by horseback?
if you wanted to do the option of putting the fence up, and the town is giving you problems, then so.
Yeah, well, there's trouble, look up trouble in the dictionary and there's kind of ice.
Kind of like, yeah.
Pictures there.
I wound up,
Are we off the record or on the record?
I had an above ground pool.
Yeah.
And the town cited me because my fence around the yard didn't have a compliant gate, a blocking gate. And I went back to them and I said, you can't enforce that because the sides of my above ground pool are an effective pool enclosure under state code. And I wound up getting them to change their code because they were trying to enforce something that was more restrictive than the state.
So,
They cannot enforce anything more restrictive than the state.
Right.
Unless they have,
let's say gone through the.
State approval,
Right,
yeah.
of course.
which they
So-
haven't done.
Just so I'm just clear on, the two returns and the corralling of the step down, or the fence around from the house on the south side. Those are the options.
Yeah,
Corralling step down is not a problem, I have full alarms. It's in the document there.
Yes.
yeah.
Do I still need the alarm on the sliding glass door?
Yes, that's part of
If
the.
you're using the house as,
Oh, okay, so that's not a problem, that's easy also.
Yeah, they'll be looking for that. And they'll inspect the south fence and the east fence to make sure, and it looks like in the photos, but the gates, make sure all that meets today's
Sure.
code. Yeah, and then you'll have the continuity. No, it's kind of like,
Those criminals?
we're done with us.
Sorry, I have to say that, but those.
I wouldn't be so general with that statement because there's always
Yeah.
nice people that work at townships.
There are, the people like all of
Yeah.
us, we're just people, but.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't paint with a broad brush like
Okay,
that.
no,
Could be a few bad eggs.
My apology,
Yeah,
yeah, you
yeah.
don't want to spoil the whole fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Pull this over a can of tuna,
what you want to do is go to the building department, not to code enforcement.
You get the runaround on the tour over there, right?
I haven't dealt with them in
That's why-
years, but
That's why I'm here, because I called the building department, I called the zoning board of appeals. I went
yeah,
personally to
zoning
see
you do.
the chief over there. I can't get answers. They couldn't even tell me what he even wanted this thing. Like, well, how do you cite something and tell me I'm in violation when you can't give me a resolution? So tell me, what do you want?
Yeah, they're responsible for enforcing the code, so somebody there should know the code.
You know?
Yeah.
So that was the frustrating part. So you call them, yeah, that's why I'm here, because I can't get anywhere with those guys.
Well,
And they just go like this,
if they don't have the answers, again, then call Courtney and
Okay, So you guys will
They don't understand
put
the
the
code.
fire, feet to the fire, huh? Okay. All right, so corral, returns are not a problem. I might just corral that because I don't want to impede the flow in my yard for down to the ramp for watercraft and things, which that would be a hardship. But the corral to step down, that's, and if returns, that's a piece of cake.
Okay,
Yeah, all right.
thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right.
Enjoy your summer.
So,
All right, the next one is remote.
What's the
Um,
applicant for the next one?
Applicant petitioner is Chris Gray, RA.
Chris Gray?
Mr. Gray, you there today?
I know there's eight.
Yes, I am. Good
How
morning.
are you? Do you have anybody else joining you for the hearing?
No, the owner, I believe he's out of the, he's on vacation or something, so he's unavailable for today.
Okay, so we'll read all this into the record and then we'll have you present, okay?
Sure.
All right, thank you.
I'm having the issue with him and,
Echo again.
yeah, it's Chris has gotta have two speakers on maybe?
You might have two devices.
No, I have an iPad I'm looking at, and my radio is off. I'm totally silent here.
Yeah, I think-
If your mic is close to the speaker, that could be causing feedback. I've had that same problem.
It's an iPad, so I can't adjust.
Well, we're gonna have to do is have you have your mic off until you want to speak. And then when you're not speaking, shut it off again because we got crazy echo coming back.
All right, I'll turn it off.
All right, thank you. Once again, I can't access this thing online. All right,
That's because usually you're using my hotspot.
I use yours, I got mine, if for some reason. Let's rock and roll.
I create one. I don't know.
I got my mobile hotspot, it's on, and I was getting emails, but I can't access the whole application packet digitally. So are we on the record, Courtney?
When you say recording is in progress, then
Okay, I did not hear that yet.
I hadn't turned it off.
So we're on.
oh my gosh.
Yes.
Can you edit it?
You left it on through all that extraneous talk we had.
The court reporter doesn't have to record it.
Okay.
Okay, the second hearing is in the matter of petition number 2023-0070. The petitioner is Chris Gray, RA, for Calvin Gnu. Okay, this petition pertains to a variance for an existing detached dwelling, construction type 5B, 2 stories in height, approximately 2,230 square feet in gross floor area, located at 332 Corcoran Place, Incorporated Village of Valley Stream, County of Nassau, State of New York. Petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 601.3, Exception 1, which states space created in basements may have a ceiling that projects to within 6 feet 8 inches of the finished floor, and beams, girders, and ducts in such space or other obstructions may project to within 6 feet 4 inches of the finished floor. Existing finished ceiling heights in spaces and basements shall not be reduced. The petitioner is seeking a variance to allow ceiling heights in a basement that are less than allowed. Okay, Mr. Chris, you're up.
Good morning. Just wanted to clarify that this dwelling is attached dwelling. Also, it's a 2-story structure over a basement, and also in the front entry off the street, you enter onto the first floor, and at the rear of the dwelling, there's a walkout basement. So I wanted to clarify that. So the owner had finished this basement, and the main issue is, or I should say, the ceiling height is in compliance. It is 6 feet 10, where 6 foot 8 is minimum. The big issue is the obstruction with a beam. The ceiling height under the beam is 5 foot 9, where 6 foot 4 is required. This beam, although it's shown in the section that the beam is taking this box There has to be a steam pipe or something in there. The existing boiler is a steam boiler, so that's usually problematic with those systems.
You did do any exploration?
Excuse me?
Did you do any exploration to determine what's behind that sock?
No, I didn't want to destroy the guy's his soffit there. But that, in my experience and seeing these quite often, there's it's those steam pipes that usually are the problem. The projection is 11 inches down from the ceiling, which is huge, and that would mean there's a beam of a lesser height, and then like I said, there has to be a steam pipe in there.
Why wouldn't they be assumed to be 2x12? It's a pretty good span.
I don't think this is gonna work the way it is right now.
I would think it could be, that's a lot of beam, I suspect there might be a steel beam in there.
So what's the span?
The span is
Span.
18 foot 3 inches.
Yeah.
Okay, with no column.
With no columns, correct.
Yeah, that is quite.
That's a heck of a span, yes.
And then what's the floor joist above?
They're probably 2x8s.
Are you sure? Because
No, that's an educated guess. Let me see. There might have been a spot. I'm looking in my notes. The boiler room. Everything was all covered. There's no way to see that. It's totally enclosed. But typically, that's the span is for the floor joist is very short.
Okay, so has your client finished the basement?
Yes.
Okay.
We're gonna have to do something about this echo.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that last comment.
The court reporter is not going to be able to hear above the echo. So Chris, Mr. Gray, you're going to have to mute, or I can mute you as soon as the chairperson starts to speak.
Okay, so how you control? You'll
With your
control me?
cell phone, something like that, or a telephone, and do audio only? We gotta
Try
take this
again
echo
to
out.
speak. Rob, let me see if the
Yeah,
echo is still there.
Lola, is there a way to work around this echo? Maybe he just calls in with audio only without the computer?
That was my thought, that if he mutes himself and just calls in, it might be easier.
Does he have two people there that are,
No, he said it's just his iPad.
because there were times when he wasn't echoing.
No, only when his is muted, he doesn't echo. Whenever he's muted, he doesn't echo. Or nobody echoes. But as soon as he unmutes to speak,
There's an echo.
there's an echo. When anybody else is speaking.
So can you call in audio through a phone, Chris?
Certainly. May I have the number?
See, he's not echoing now. Well,
Oh, he's echoing.
I will send you the telephone number. Give me a second to email you.
Okay.
So you gotta mute yourself down, Mr. Gray.
Mute myself? Okay.
Yeah, so you're gonna call with the phone and then keep that muted because there's no echo once you have that muted. Okay, while we wait for him to
Mr.
call
Gray,
in.
I can give you the number now. Are you ready?
Go ahead.
That's 518-549-0500.
and is there a code number he has to enter? get it?
Not with that number.
Not with that number?
I need a meeting number.
Okay. 1614145329.
Thank you.
Options here.
Well,
Other than the typical color around the edges. It's a stupid.
well, we don't know.
That's also a long distance.
All right, let's go. So the last question we had, I think, was regarding when the work was completed and
That,
who's it completed by?
it was, the date is unknown, but the owner had built it himself.
The present owner, your client?
Yes.
Okay. Does he happen to know what's behind the soffit?
I believe we discussed it. I believe there's a pipe there, he told me.
Is it underneath the beam or alongside the beam?
Underneath. That would explain the depth, the unusual depth for that.
All right, so I'm gonna ask the question. How do we get this thing up to 6 feet?
Well,
Can you upset it in the floor? I don't know what kind of beam it is, but
typically a steam pipe, it has to have a certain pitch to it.
not
Perhaps
talking about the beam. Yeah.
perhaps the soffit could be opened up and see what possibly could be done.
I mean, that's a better solution than getting denied. Because 5'9" is a difficult thing. I mean, I'm only speaking for myself, not the other board members. But without knowing what's behind the soffit, it's hard to really come up with a solution of how much space you can gain. Does the pipe kiss the bottom of the drywall? Is it up an inch or two? You know,
I'm
every
sure
inch
I'm sure it's
matters.
close to a beam at one point, and then as the pitch goes down, it gets drastic at the opposite end.
Yeah, the soffit holds the lowest point. I get it.
Correct.
So the photos show obviously habitable space, like a living space, rec room.
Yes.
The application says finished storage.
It's an interchangeable term with the with building departments, but it's like a recreation space.
Well, it's treated differently in the code, so that's why I'm asking. But it's, you want to use it as the same as you demonstrate in the photos?
Yes.
Okay. You guys have any other questions? You want to, we have some lights that are flush with the ceiling. We have some bifold doors on the boiler room. Chris, are the walls rated around the boiler room?
Yes.
So-
Interesting thing.
Go
There's
ahead.
no reference about boiler rooms in the code.
No, but often when we grant a variance for a low headroom in a basement, we require that the boiler room have a 1 hour fire rating and fire rated doors.
That's
It's
fine.
upgrading the life and fire safety, Chris. That's what we ask for, these enhanced features, even though it's not in the code.
That's fine.
This thing? Can't see my face? Okay. Sorry about that.
I
Do we have any numbers or costs to possibly remedy this situation? Like,
No, not at this moment.
so where do you stand now? Is this a violation with the building department or?
Well, I believe there was a fire, and then that brought in the fire department and the building department, and it was discovered that this basement did not have a permit.
Okay.
The fire in this house?
I think it was a relatively minor, it was a minor fire, nothing substantial, but the firemen were called in and the building department were called in. I don't know that exact detail. Maybe his fire alarm went off or something.
I guess one option here might be to adjourn pending further investigation
Yes.
of that beam and potential mitigation.
Yeah, identifying what's behind it. I mean, it's pretty wide. You know, be nice to know what's behind it to see what you guys can do. So is the duct chase or the duct soffit to serve upstairs only, or is it serve the basement as
Oh,
well?
it's unknown. Everything's all concealed. Usually, with a steam system, you have a loop that goes around the whole for the whole house.
The drawings and the photos show a ductless mini split, which is a heat pump for heating and cooling. So, I mean, I'm just making assumptions here, just to talk, but maybe
I
the
would say-
basements.
I would say that that steam pipe is to serve the first and second floor. There probably was never any heat in the basement.
But there's no duct in there? We're not sure. That's why we're sort of guessing.
That is a ductless unit.
No, I'm talking about in the soffit itself. There's no penetrations like for
Oh
vents or
no,
diffusers?
there's no hot air. It's steam
Okay.
heat.
Okay. Steam heat. There's a gas-fired steam boiler. So the distribution is hydronic. Is that correct? Hydronic
Yeah.
baseboard? Okay. And then the AC, there's no air handler down in the basement that would distribute air for ductwork?
No, that what you see in the wall is a ductless unit.
Okay. So would you be okay coming back with some more information?
That's one possibility. Also, on a previous case, you have made a decision where the ceiling height must be this, and then we have to work with it. If you were to grant that a 6-foot height is minimum, then they can work on that.
Yeah, I mean, we get these all the time. I don't recall the case you're citing, but every case has its own unique attributes.
Yeah.
I'd like to read it, but yeah, I think right for this particular application, we're acquiring what's behind the soffit, so we can help arrive at the hardship to go to 6, if it is a hardship, or if there's some kind of design solution to get it there that seems reasonable, that's not too costly. So we don't really know what's holding us back from getting it up higher,
I
and it's very
understand.
wide as well. Yeah.
So it's in the board's hands how to deal
Well, I
with it.
think as a courtesy, I'm asking you, are you okay with an adjournment? Otherwise, we'll go deliberate and might come back with a denial or some conditions you might not like. So,
Well, I'd say deliberate is fine, and if they have to meet a certain height, then that's so be it.
okay. Okay, you good with that, gentlemen? Erica?
I'm good with that.
If that's what the guy,
That's what you want, yeah, we can do that. Okay.
All right, hang in there. We'll be right back as quick as
Thank you.
possible. Okay, can you hear us, Chris?
Yes.
We don't need to hear you. We're just gonna read the decision. So if you don't mind, I guess,
Well, he's on the phone. isn't he?
yeah, there's no echo, so I guess you're fine.
Okay.
And then the next hearing is, oh, Mr. Gleason's here, right? He's in person? Yeah, so that's no problem. Okay. Okay, with respect to the petition of 2023-0070 Calvin Gano, the petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 601.3, Exception 1. The board makes the following findings. Number one, the subject dwelling is a two-story attached single-family dwelling with a walkout basement. Number two, the basement layout shows closet spaces, a utility room, a laundry room, a toilet room, and a room labeled as finished storage. It appears from pictures that the basement is also being used as habitable space, as confirmed by the petitioner. Number three, there is no indication of a sleeping room in the basement. Number four, the finished ceiling height throughout the basement is approximately 6 feet 10 inches. This satisfies the allowances of AJ 601.3 of the 2020 Residential Code of New York State. Number five, there is an overhead soffit enclosure with a structural beam and, according to the petitioner, a steam pipe which projects below the finished ceiling plane of the basement. The minimum headroom at this projection is approximately 5 feet 9 inches. The width of the enclosure suggests that utility conduits may also be present within the enclosure. Number six, a 5'9" projection is below the average height of an adult male according to anthropometric data published in the NFPA Life Safety Code. Number seven, the petitioner has not established whether the height of the soffit projection can be increased. Number eight, painting the projection in a color that contrasts to that of the ceiling will call attention to the obstruction and alert persons to avoid the low headroom condition. Number nine, the primary egress path in this layout would be from the basement up an interior set of stairs through the dwelling unit on the first floor and out an exit door. A door directly to grade would serve as an emergency escape and rescue opening and provide a more direct route from the basement. 10, installing electrically wired smoke alarms within the basement that are connected to similar devices located on the main level of the building would, if properly maintained, provide warning to persons using the basement in advance of a smoke-related emergency. Number 11, a carbon monoxide detector is required at this level due to the presence of a boiler, a gas-fired boiler in the basement. With respect to 19 NYCRR Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 601.3, Exception 1, the board finds strict compliance with the provisions to the Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code would entail practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship and would be physically or legally impractical. And the granting of this variance will not substantially adversely affect the Uniform Code provisions for health, safety, and security. Wherefore, it is determined that the application for a variance from the provisions of 19 NYCRR Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 601.3, Exception 1, be and is hereby proposed to be granted with the following conditions. Number one, that the electrically wired smoke alarms shall be installed and maintained throughout the basement in accordance with Section R314 of the 2020 Residential Code of New York State and connected to similar devices located throughout the main level of the building. Number two, that the paths of egress from the basement via an interior set of stairs to the first floor and via an exterior door with exterior steps directly to grade, as outlined in these findings, shall be preserved and maintained. Number three, that the basement shall not be used for sleeping. This shall be stated on the certificate of occupancy that is issued by the authority having jurisdiction in this matter. Number four, that the boiler equipment shall be enclosed with a minimum 1 hour fire resistant rated walls and suitably rated opening protectives to include interior wall dampers if needed for makeup air. Number five, that the elevation to the bottom of the soffit in question shall be raised to a minimum height of 6 feet above the finished floor. Number six, that all projections in the basement below 6 feet 4 inches above the finished floor shall be marked or treated with contrasting color to highlight the low headroom condition. Number seven, that the basement shall conform to all other applicable requirements of the Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code, including but not limited to the requirements for carbon monoxide detection. I need a motion to approve with these conditions.
So moved.
May I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion is approved. Furthermore, it should be noted that the decision of this board is limited to the specific building and application before it as contained within the petition. It should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plans or specifications presented in support of this application. So you got an approval with conditions, Chris?
That is fine.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Make a note on the record that one of the board members had to leave.
Okay, yes, just on the record that Member Schaub, who was on remotely, had to leave before the decision. So it was just us three remaining members that voted and approved with conditions. Okay, hearing is closed. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Good day.
Bye.
That's the first one. Every time.
Boy, isn't this person, present?
Yes, but that's why I wanna put them on.
Let's rock and roll. Okay, the third hearing is in the matter of petition number 2023-0134. The petitioner is Mr. John G. Gleason, RA, for Diego Ventimiglia. The petition pertains to a variance for an existing detached, I don't know if it's one family or two family construction, type 5B, 1 story in height, approximately 3,100 square feet in gross floor area, located at 8 Caroline Street, Medford, Town of Brookhaven, County of Suffolk, State of New York. The petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 601.3, Exception 1, which states space created in basements may have a ceiling that projects to within 6 feet 8 inches of the finished floor, and beams, girders, and ducts in such space or other obstructions may project to within 6 feet 4 inches of the finished floor. Existing finished ceiling heights in spaces in basements shall not be reduced. The petitioner is seeking a variance to allow ceiling heights in a basement that are less than allowed. Okay, John, just your name and address.
Yeah, my name is John G. Gleason, architect. I practice out of 336 6th Avenue, St. James, New York, 11780. Registered architect in the state of New York. We're here today with the homeowner for Ventimiglia, and we're talking about 8 Caroline Street in Medford, New York. The basement in question, what we're here for a variance for, is an existing condition. The ceiling height, as built, constructed for the house, is currently at 6'8". This is also allowed because the gypboard ceiling that's installed is right tight to the floor joist. It's the girder. It's kind of an issue why we're seeking the variance. 5 foot 10 is under the dimension under the existing girder. The basement has finished walls, a couple interior finished walls, an exterior basement entrance that allows for egress, and an interior stair that goes into the existing house. There is a mechanical room, fire rated, and a existing bathroom, 3-piece bathroom that's so within the basement space. The family bought the house like this. They didn't do any improvements. They're looking to obviously legalize space. And that's where we're at. We're trying to get a kind of a hearing to determine whether we can modify and make the finished basement work for the family and obtain the proper COs from the building department. Building department's been down there, I think, Dennis Phelps, with the town of Brookhaven. He's done some inspections on the house.
How did this come about, John? Like, was there a violation?
What happened was they filed for an accessory apartment use, which they obtained.
For the first floor?
For the first floor.
Okay.
Okay, so they did like a garage conversion and filed for an accessory apartment. So then when they went to the basement, they found the surprise, it was a finished basement.
Okay.
And that triggered a, inspection report from Mr. Phelps that said, yeah, we're gonna have to solve this head height problem issue in the cellar because it's not meeting code. And that's what brings us here. the public hearing.
Okay. In your section through the house, it looks like the duct is more of the one creating the head height problem than the beam. But was this opened and identified? Did you open to see what the actual,
Yeah, the beam was opened, the beam is covered by, just sheetrock, so. Yeah,
it tight to the bottom?
It's tight to the bottom, there's no furred out, the duct is, it's a pretty thick duct, height wise. The duct can be probably shrunk a little bit, but maybe an inch or two, but it just becomes the issue of, the friction loss and the duct working properly. This is the main duct, supply duct for the house, that comes out of the beam.
Is the duct lower than the beam?
it looks like,
It's the same size, it's the same height.
it looks like in a
Yeah,
section, but
so
it's not blown up, so we're making some assumptions here,
Yeah,
but.
it's the same, it's the 510, yeah.
Right, so you're saying that is it 3 or 4 like built up 2x10s in there?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and the floor joist, the what, 2x8s?
Two floor joists are 2x8s, yes. And, the house was constructed this way. That's where the slab was, that's where the floor joist, like I mentioned previously, the ceiling, the half-inch sheetrock is right up tight to the floor joist.
Okay.
There's no drop ceilings or anything.
So John, it's not just if we flatten the duct, we get a few more inches, it's actually the beam also. It would be a structural
Yes,
modification as well.
right.
Okay.
And the beam, I would assume like the beam can be upset in a couple areas, you know, if that's a good compliment.
I mean, that's typically what we ask. If
But,
it's,
but I think that, it's still gonna need a code variance because it's still not gonna be, you know, the
Yeah.
original ceiling's I think out of code, right?
No,
It's just there.
6
Yeah, it's
feet
just
is
there.
fine.
6'8"
Yes,
is-
it's straight. So,
complies with code.
right, it's just duct.
So just so the board understands the plans, so from the first floor, you come down the stair.
Right, yes.
From, you have a closet designation, but there's a door
Yes,
there.
the door
right?
there, yep,
So you go down and then you got to double back through finished storage.
correct.
Okay, so maybe that opening, there could be some modifications made
Yes,
to get to the, you know, typically the 6-foot threshold, we start to have problems. But again, I'm only speaking for myself. I don't know about the other gentleman here, but, and then you're out into this finished basement, which is nicely well appointed.
yes, and then we come into the issue of my other diagram that I sent to the state. You know, this orange line is drop ductwork that is and on the floor. So that's where we have to kind of, this is where the issue is, like you said, the girder could be solved.
So that soffit's how wide?
So it's approximately 24 inches wide for the ductwork.
And that's the same head height as the openings into the finished storage, or the finished storage heights lower? Head heights?
The head heights are the same size, yes. It's the
Okay,
same-
just-
Yeah, it's the same height,
Clarify,
right?
okay.
Mhm. Yeah, because there's duct and the girder's right behind it. You can see like, in this picture, the girder is right behind the duct. You can see this T, forms a T, the duct. And this comes out of the mechanical room here. This is the opening we were just talking about. I would be, right here, this is gonna be the staircase.
You have to go through the finished
Right.
storage room and go up
Exactly.
the stair.
And then boom, we're into this back room area, right? This leads up into the interior stair.
You know, if this thing wasn't so finished nicely, well done, that I kind of want to move that wall out to the other side of the soffit. And it takes away that head height, you know what I mean?
I see.
And then wherever there's a door, it's low because you're opening a door. You know you're going through something that's lower,
Oh, I see.
and, but it's just so nicely well appointed that I don't know how much that would cost to do
I
that.
guess my biggest concern is right here,
The 90-degree?
where you have to
Yeah.
go under the duct and the beam to get to the stairs.
Yes,
I mean,
Because
this I
yeah.
could live with, but this I'm having a tough time with.
So there's 3 finished storage spaces.
yes. Yes,
You don't want to use them for anything but storage?
Just for the my machine for exercise. My son play
Okay,
with my dog.
so it's more recreation than storage.
Yeah,
I mean, it looks
Yeah, it's-
nicely finished.
the basement is, every people will go, the beautiful bedroom, not have humid, nothing, smell, nothing. So it's only for the storage, and my son will play from my dog.
That's the, it's really the ducts, really. I mean, if we can maybe reorganize the ductwork and get maybe a couple inches out of it, but still, it's gonna be kind of, said it's bang, it's the mechanical room goes in the middle of the space, like you said, and we'll move the wall. We could have it.
Yeah.
And there is, obviously the exterior entrance to that, area.
So to minimize the expense of doing modifications, I mean, I'd be inclined to possibly throw out there if it was used as storage, but I'm hearing now it's not storage, to maybe just close off the finished storage with a door. And then the main circulation to go to the stair, we alter that opening
Oh.
to get it to 6 foot, you know,
Right.
and that's where you're localizing the work. Maybe you're just pushing up a header in that area,
Sure.
but I don't know what that does for the ductwork. Do we know if the ductwork is for upstairs or there's a diffuser in the soffit?
There is a diffuser in the socket, yes.
Um,
So, I can, we can alter the ductwork and, especially this trunk here that goes across, if that's your concern.
Yeah,
We could probably see if we were able to push a little bit or, make it dual duct in between the two floor joists to get some kind of, head height, to transition, transverse this space in here.
It looks empty right now.
and maybe,
Yeah. it's just-
and maybe move it to the other side of the door to the boiler room so that it's,
It's not in the way of the stair.
well,
I'm fine.
yeah, the entrance to the stairs is right here.
Yep.
So, yeah, it sort of is. I would be inclined to, yeah, okay, if you're gonna upset it into,
Do that. I'm sorry. Yeah.
That'd be the minimum.
Close it off. Put a door here and close it off. It goes away. I mean, it looks empty now. I'm sorry, I'm just at that soffit. Put a wall up with a door.
So, the two.
To go to the bathroom. Eliminates the head height problem there, except at the door,
except at the door.
which we've
but
done in the past where we
I'm
just made a door.
concerned about the door right here.
It's not gonna encroach on that open. And they would be amenable to altering
No.
that to get it higher.
Yeah, but if you took this duct and say maybe came around here and upset it into the
That's,
main,
yeah, I don't
you know, if you did something in that area. I'm not concerned about getting to the bathroom so much as this is
So
a
if you
primary
move
means
it
of
more
egress.
into circulation, then it's gonna be more of a problem. That's what I was saying, if you took that space out of the circulation, it was more of a,
Although if you made it into two ducts and made them thinner, then you could move them and maybe raise this and put another duct here that's again higher.
Mhm.
I don't know. Basically, I'd want to see like 6 foot right in this area right here.
That's a 2 inch, increase, right? And that's probably doable.
just to circulate under this part. And then no issue with this along the,
Less concern here.
Okay.
Although we do have a means of egress here too. Maybe it's not as much of a concern.
the floor is, right on the slab.
Yes. With the tile. The final flooring right stuck on the, yes, on the slab.
The lights are flush with the ceiling.
Yes.
Uh,
See, they just flush.
okay, what's the fuel source of the mechanical?
I believe they have the oil. They have
Oil.
Yes.
Yeah, tank here.
Okay, yeah, oil tank. And you have a door that says, fireproof self-closing.
Yes,
Do we assume that boiler room has a fire rated enclosure on it, or?
yes, yeah, correct. 5/8.
It does, existing?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's existing, yes.
Okay.
The ceiling or the walls?
Ceiling walls. and
Walls
yeah,
too? Really?
Fire taped. Done years ago, obviously, but I think there's,
So no sleeping, no kitchen needed?
no, there's no plumbing besides the bathroom. There's no pipes sticking out anywhere in the walls. Or anything, drains, or floor drains, nothing like that.
It'd be nice to know, John, what the bottom of the beam is. Because ducts can kind of be flattened and then you can just redo your soffit.
Yeah.
But if the beam is tight, then
the
you gotta
beam-
offset the beam, which is expensive. You know?
Correct, yes, and it's 5'10", that's where it is, plus that's the sheet rock, so 5'10" and a half inch. to the bottom of
It's
the-
wood or is it steel?
It's wood, yeah, it's wood. Yeah, it's triple pieces of wood, yeah.
I mean, it's conventional lumber. I mean, maybe you could do engineered lumber and do some LVLs and if you can get an inch and a half or so, or maybe paint it,
Right,
and not take the drywall, every little half inch,
yes,
you know.
half inch adds up.
Yeah. And then maybe we ask you to put padding on anything below 6, I don't know, we gotta talk
You
it
could
out.
maybe put another column here so you could
I
reduce the
think-
height of this beam.
He's an architect, I think he understands that,
Yeah.
yeah, that,
I could throw maybe we could get shallow micro lamb with a thin piece of steel,
Yeah.
get it, obviously under 7.5 inch micro lamb, has to be shallower than that, yeah. Engineer it that way.
yeah.
And also, if you add another column right on the other side of the door there,
Columns
in
require
between the two
footings.
columns, then,
Right.
well,
Right.
yeah,
It's gonna be
but
that
you're
whole-
talking a small,
But isn't,
well, that's
isn't there
true.
one there?
Yes, there
And there's
is.
one there.
Yeah, they're pretty
So
close.
Between those two.
Yeah, we just have to add, shim on the top of the existing plate of the column, right? Right, we could do it's not, we could do the sections, right?
Yeah, I don't wanna design,
Yeah,
no,
yeah,
I mean, you could
yeah.
conceivably sandwich steel plates and then cut out the material
But
and then
we
get,
can get it to 6 foot, right? I mean,
well,
that's what-
that's nice to hear from you. Yeah, I think if, that would really sit well
Yeah.
with definitely the circulation area and then with regards to,
the hazard stuff, the circulation area, right? That's what we're talking about.
yeah.
Not so much where the walls are. We can't walk through. I mean, you're talking about this area here, and this doorway right here. Right, here, and here.
Those are the openings to the
To
the gym.
Right, the gym area is right here. And then here's the opening, the door opening to the interior staircase, which goes through
Right,
that.
so I think I understand you correctly. You're talking about getting those 3 openings to 6 feet? Is that what you're saying?
And with the bottom. Try to,
What about
like
the-
you said, every half inch matters with the sheet rock, transform the duct, wider, shallower.
Personally, I think that would be easier because that's only ductwork, it's not structure, right?
Right.
That 90 degree.
Absolutely.
So you should be able to flatten as a proportion, right? So if you widen it,
Yes.
we drywall it or expose it.
Or expose it, right, just to put out, eliminate the, sheet rock.
That sounds
Something.
in the realm of approvability there, Mr. Yes. Okay. Yes, sir?
Yeah.
Any other questions?
No.
Sure, what time on this?
There you go.
No, whatever. Garage, right back up.
Which way is north?
Right there.
Can't see that.
It's on the right side of the house.
Right side.
Yeah,
This is north?
correct, yep,
Okay.
yes.
I got all my questions answered, so.
Okay.
We usually do, carbon monoxide.
Right.
And you have a note here in the drawings. Sometimes we do heat to rise. You're a fireman, right? Heat to rise,
Do a heat detector, right, in
Yeah.
the mechanical rooms.
yeah. So those are typical conditions for approval that we do.
Okay.
It's not catastrophic. I think,
Not yet.
okay. So, we're gonna kick it around, come back with a decision. You can give us minutes? Yeah, 15 minutes.
10 minutes.
Well, I'm gonna type
We never
fast.
do this in 10
I
minutes.
know. I'm managing his expectations. Okay, back on the record. With respect to the petition of number 2023-0134, the grief party, Mr. Diego Ventimila. The petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 601.3, Exception 1. The board notes the following findings. Number one, the dwelling that is the subject of this determination has 2 dwelling units on the first floor. Number two, the basement layout shows a utility room, a toilet room, a series of finished rooms used as habitable recreation space as per the owner. Number three, there is no indication of a sleeping room in the basement. Number four, the finished ceiling height throughout the basement is approximately 6 feet 8 inches. This satisfies the allowances of AJ 601.3 of the 2020 Residential Code of New York State. Number five, overhead soffit enclosures with ventilation ducts and a central girder project below the finished ceiling plane of the basement. The minimum headroom at these projections is approximately 5 feet 10 inches. Number six, a 5-foot 10-inch projection is equal to the average height of an adult male according to anthropometric data published in the NFPA Life Safety Code. Number seven, painting the projection in a color that contrasts to that of the ceiling will call attention to the obstruction and alert persons to avoid the low headroom condition. Number eight, the primary means of egress in this layout would be from the basement up an interior set of stairs through one of the dwelling units on the first floor and out an exit door. A door with exterior steps directly to grade serves as an emergency escape and rescue opening and provides a more direct route from the basement. Number nine, installing electrically wired smoke alarms within the basement that are connected to similar devices located on the main level of the building would, if properly maintained, provide warning to persons using the basement in advance of a smoke-related emergency. So with respect to 19 NYCRR Part 1220, 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 601.3, Exception 1, the board finds strict compliance with the provisions to the Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code would entail practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship and would create an excessive and unreasonable economic burden and would be physically or legally impractical. And the granting of this variance will not substantially adversely affect the Uniform Code's provisions for health, safety, and security. Wherefore, it is determined that the application for a variance from the provisions of 19 NYCRR Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 601.3, Exception 1B, and is hereby proposed to be granted with the following conditions. Condition number one, that electrically wired smoke alarms shall be installed and maintained throughout the basement in accordance with Section R314 of the 2020 Residential Code of New York State and connected to similar devices located throughout the main level of the building. Number two, that the paths of egress from the basement via an interior set of stairs to the first floor and via an exterior door with exterior steps directly to grade, as outlined in these findings, shall be preserved and maintained. Number three, that the basement shall not be used for sleeping. This shall be stated on the certificate of occupancy that is issued by the authority having jurisdiction in this matter. Number four, that the boiler equipment shall be enclosed within the minimum 1 hour fire resistant rated walls and suitably rated opening protectives to include interior wall dampers if needed for makeup air. Number five, that the soffit encompassing the beam and ductwork between the square columns to the area just south of the stairs to the first floor shall have a minimum headroom of 6 feet above finished floor, and access directly to the main stairs shall be created from this room. Number 6, that the east-west soffit containing the duct from the boiler room shall be raised to a minimum of 6 feet in height above finished floor. Number 7, that all projections below 6 feet 4 inches above finished floor shall be marked or treated with contrasting color to highlight the low headroom condition. And number 8, that the basement shall conform to all other applicable requirements of the Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code, including but not limited to the requirements for carbon monoxide detection. Need a motion to approve with these conditions?
So moved.
May I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is approved. Furthermore, it should be noted that the decision of this board is limited to the specific building and application before it as contained within the petition and should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plans or specification presented in support of this application. How'd we do, John?
I think it's a great solution. I appreciate the
Great.
board's
Thank
attention
you.
with this. I really do.
Thank you.
And, it's gonna work out fine and be
Okay.
safe for the applicants.
Great.
It's the goal, right? So, thank you for your time.
Great.
gentlemen. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, good job today.
Your son has learned a lot from this. He's wants to become an architect or an engineer.
Get a building permit.
You know where the money is.
He knows better.
That's what he built.
All right. We have the last hearing. Who do we have here? We have petition 0562. Oh, this is the holdover from April, I believe.
Yeah.
Is Amy here today? Amy DeVito?
Who's in that lower picture?
Nobody.
What? Is that us?
You're in the upper.
That lower picture is a picture of this room
Yeah.
from the, okay.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm good. How about everybody?
We're hanging in there.
Almost Friday. So I'll just keep telling ourselves that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, should I just begin?
No, we're going to read this back into the record quick and then we'll give you the floor. Okay. The fourth and final hearing today is in the matter of petition number 2022-0562. The petitioner is Miss Amy DeVito for Jill Bergson and Timothy Pell. Okay, this petition pertains to the alteration of existing detached dwelling. Is it detached?
Yeah.
Detached dwelling. The subject building is 2 stories in height, of frame construction, approximately 4,030 square feet in gross floor area, and is located at 35 Gall Road South, east of Talcott, Town of Brookhaven, County of Suffolk, State of New York. Petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 601.3, Exception 1, which allows space created in basements may have a ceiling that projects to within 6 feet 8 inches of the finished floor, and beams, girders, and ducts in such space or other obstructions may project to within 6 feet 4 inches of the finished floor. Existing finished ceiling heights and space in basements shall not be reduced. Petitioner requests that overhead obstructions in the basement be less than allowed. Okay. All right, Amy. I think we sent you away last time to get more information, right?
Yeah. So, and that was quite a few months ago now because we were going back and forth between the contractor, HVAC mechanic, the architect, the owner. In the end, they were able to determine that the ceiling height could be, or not the ceiling height, the girder height, the soffit height, where the HVAC duct is, we could gain about 2 inches, almost 3. So we were originally requesting 5 feet 9 inches. We are now requesting 5 feet 11.5 inches. So we are just shy of meeting that 6 foot threshold where I know it's generally a more straightforward request. So they will be removing the insulation that wraps the ducts, and then from finished floor to ceiling height, once the ceiling is finished, it will be the 5 foot, 11.5 inches. There was also discussion at the last hearing about opening up the other side of the stairs, meaning so that you could pass through. That actually, I'm sorry, closing up the other side of the stairs so no pass through could occur. They would prefer not to do that, just because it creates just more of a flow in the area for them to, you know, get in and out of the basement. But I'm hoping that with our ability to raise the 2.5 inches, the board will be satisfied, but I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Okay, I'm looking for the plan. I can't find the plan. On my submission.
There was a new.
So it's on the old packet?
No, it was in the new packet. It's 8.5 by 11. Folded.
Uh-huh.
Hard to read. It's not read, barely legible.
Yeah, I remember this, we had Mr. Ellis from Albany at the hearing last time, and he had raised the question of, and made some good suggestions. So the opening, I guess, just to the west of the stair,
Yes.
you want to keep that open?
We would prefer, I mean, they just basically said that, you know, they would prefer to, you know, be able to access the stairs. They actually think it's safer to be able to pass through there to access the stairs from either way than to, you know, close that up. You know, they would of course be willing to paint the duct or put some type of glaring marker on the, you know, the duct. So that way people are aware that it's there when you pass through.
All
On
right, so
either,
you're gonna get the duct up to 5'11.5"?
correct. With,
And then,
What
does
if-
that still make it lower than the beam?
say again?
Does the duct, is it duct still lower than the beam projection at the openings?
Well,
Right, 'cause that says 6 feet on the drawing.
What is the height of the beam?
the beam is 6 feet and we are gonna be 5'11.5".
Slightly lower, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like.
That was the question. I think that just says 6 feet.
That was the best they could do. I mean, we were trying everything possible. So we are at our max for floor to ceiling height, finished floor to ceiling height. As
And
far,
the duct won't have the insulation on it now?
no, they're gonna remove the insulation and they,
Okay,
well, there might be like a very thin layer of insulation between the duct and the actual sheetrock, but
okay.
yeah, they'll be removing the puffy silver insulation that you see on it.
Okay. Were there any other comments on that? I didn't get to read all the minutes, but
They're just going to do the central duct, nothing on the sides, right? There are also ducts on the side.
I think we were less concerned with the duct on the
Against the wall,
side because
yeah.
it was up against the wall.
My question was whether that was the only one that they were going to touch.
Yes, that is correct. The duct that runs through more or less down the center of the basement, that is the one that we are raising. The duct that abuts up against the exterior wall, that will remain as it is. And it is a smaller area and it's obviously against the wall, so it won't create any issues with pass through.
my memory's not that great, but we talked about potentially closing in the boiler room. I think we talked about what kind of construction that was. Is that correct? I don't remember. We do so many of these.
Typical condition.
Yeah, so that's not an issue with your clients, you know,
What, the fire, to have it fire?
yeah, 1 hour fire rated separation around the mechanical room.
Not at all. As a matter of fact, of course, you guys will suggest it, but the building department is not going to, at Brookhaven, will not allow us to pass inspection without meeting those basic code requirements. So all of that.
That's not in the code.
That's not a code requirement.
That's not a code requirement.
That's
All
a requirement.
That's our enhanced upgrades for a variance.
They enforce it anyway, even without the suggestion from you guys. We always have to deal with that, you know, fire rated sheetrock by the boiler, fire rated door. That's kind of standard issue with them.
Okay,
If you ever want to object to that. then-
yeah, now you're that much smarter now, you know, it's not in the code, so. You guys doing it.
It
Now
is required to have fire rated sheet rock above the boiler,
Mhm.
but not on the walls,
Yeah, well, they would be
the
fine.
door. So if they're doing that, just keep in mind, it is not a code
That's
requirement.
not in there anymore, Mr. Hames.
Yeah, what's that?
That's not in there, unless it's a certain
What?
BQ output, it's not on
Oh,
the
yeah,
code anymore.
above the,
It's always
Oh.
good practice, but
I think it depends on the
Well,
distance
What
between
the
the boiler
code,
and
what the
the.
code has required now in all spaces in unfinished basements is that they have, especially where there is less than a 10 by 2 joist, have some separation between the basement and the floor above. No,
that's for the engineered lumber,
Generally, right,
the half-inch drywall thing.
yes.
Yeah, I think. But not above
Oh.
the boiler equipment, because they're so efficient now, they don't really have.
Oh, with new boiler
Yeah, yeah.
equipment. Oh, okay, yeah, that's true.
All right, well, this is good. We're not quite there, but it's a good, vast improvement.
Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt, but actually I do see notated on the plans already, wall, ceiling and door of mechanical room shall all be 1 hour fire rated. Equipment shall meet manufacturer's clearance, provide fresh air intake. So that is notated on there.
Yeah, I have a very light printout, so I didn't see that, but thank you for that.
Okay.
You're welcome.
You guys have any other questions?
No,
No? Okay then. Hang tight, we'll be right back.
All righty.
We're gonna get you a decision.
Okay, I'll be
All
here.
right, thanks. Ann. Can you hear me okay, Amy?
Yes, I can.
I just want to make sure. Okay, we're back on the record with respect to the petition number 2022-0562. Timothy Powell and Jill Bergson. Petitioner is seeking relief from 19 NYCRR Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 601.3, Exception 1. Board makes the following findings. Number 1. Drawings of the subject dwelling show a basement with finished and unfinished spaces. Number 2, these drawings show a large habitable room that wraps around a central stairway. The basement also has a non-habitable unfinished space used as a mechanical room. Number 3, the drawings indicate that the basement has a finished ceiling height of approximately 6 feet 9 inches throughout. This height conforms to the allowance of exception 1 of section AJ 601.3 of the 2020 Residential Code of New York State. Number 4, there are 2 locations in the basement where overhead projections violate the code's minimum headroom requirements. These obstructions occur along a central girder and along an exterior wall of the basement. 5, the obstruction at the exterior wall is due to a ventilation duct run that is enclosed with gypsum board and has a soffit at approximately 5 feet 9 inches above finished floor. There is little likelihood that persons will pass underneath the soffit, which somewhat mitigates the hazard at this location. Number 6, painting this enclosure in a color that contrasts to the ceiling would and further mitigate the obstruction by drawing attention to the reduction and alerting persons to avoid coming into contact with it. Number 7, the centrally located overhead obstruction is due to a structural girder and 2 adjacent runs of insulated ventilation ducts. The bottom of the ducts was shown to be at approximately 5 feet 9 inches above finished floor, and the bottom of the girder is approximately 6 feet above finished floor in the drawings dated 10/11/22. 8, at a previous hearing in this matter, the board requested a reconsideration of the design of the centrally located ventilation ducts by the applicant and their design professionals. Number 9, the petitioner has produced a revised sheet A101 dated 6/15/23, in which it is proposed to lift the centrally located ducts and provide a minimum headroom of 5 feet 11.5 inches. Number 10, a 5 foot 11.5 headroom exceeds the height of an average American male according to anthropometric data contained in the NFPA Life Safety Code. Number 11, the building's boiler equipment is located within the basement. providing a rated enclosure and opening protectives around the boiler equipment should improve fire safety. 12, electrical wired smoke alarms installed within the basement and connected to similar devices located on the main level of the building would, if properly maintained, provide warning to persons in the basement in advance of a smoke-related emergency. So with respect to 19 NYCRR Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 601.3, Exception 1, the board finds strict compliance with the provisions to the Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code would entail practical difficulties or unnecessary hardship and would be physically or legally impractical. And the granting of this variance will not substantially adversely affect the Uniform Code's provisions for health, safety, and security. Wherefore, it is determined that the application for a variance from the provisions of 19 NYCRR Part 1220, the 2020 Residential Code of New York State, Section AJ 601.3, Exception 1, be and is hereby proposed to be granted with the following conditions. Condition 1, that the minimum finished headroom at the two centrally located ducts shall be 5 feet 11.5 inches above finished floor. Number 2, that the projections due to the central girder and adjacent ducts and the projection running adjacent to the wall shall be painted in a color that contrasts to their surroundings and make visible to low headroom conditions. Number 3, that electrically wired smoke alarms shall be installed throughout the basement and connected to similar devices throughout the dwelling in accordance with Section R314 of the 2020 Residential Code of New York State. Number 4, that there shall be no bedroom or kitchen located in the basement, and this shall be clearly stated on the certificate of completion from the local building department for this legalization. Number 5, that the basement boiler room shall be enclosed. This enclosure shall have a minimum 1-hour fire resistant rating and a minimum 45-minute opening protective to include interior wall dampers if needed for makeup air. Number 6, that a code compliant opening for emergency escape and rescue shall be maintained at the basement. And 7, that the basement shall conform to all other applicable requirements of the Uniform Fire Prevention and Building Code, including but not limited to the requirements for carbon monoxide detection. Need a motion to approve with these conditions?
So moved.
May I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion is approved. Furthermore, it should be noted that the decision of this board is limited to the specific building and application before it as contained within the petition and should not be interpreted to give implied approval of any general plans or specifications presented in support of this application. Okay, I'm officially talked out.
Yeah, that was a long one for you guys, the hearings today.